So a few months ago, I bought another knife from James and Company over on AAPK dot net. Is it dot net? I think it's dot net. Another Arthur Wright and Sons pocket knife. Um, I'm not really sure what this model's called. It's just kind of a basic jackknife, pretty much. The spear point blade. So the spear point jackknife from Arthur Wright and Son. This one's in ebony. This one is fresh out of the box and everything. I really do like ebony as a handle material. I think it looks good. And it's, a hard wood that's typically fairly stable, so it won't crack and stuff, at least typically. I also have this knife, which is a knife that I've carried a little bit. And the stag is really wicked on it. But I ordered these at the same time. These are, more affordable pocket knives, Arthur Wright and Sons. They make extremely affordable, pretty well made pocket knives for, the working man, pretty much. These aren't as expensive as even your case knives, certainly not as expensive as something like Great Eastern Cutlery. In fact, a lot of them are even cheaper than most like otter messer knives, which is something else that I consider to be a very affordable, well-made knife. I've carried this one a little bit. This one came with a blunt tip on it, which is something that seems to happen with these, and I kind of tried to get it so I could make it pointy and kind of round it off the end a little bit, so it looks a little strange, but it pokes through things now. So it's pointy pretty much. But the stag on this one looks really good. Um, but anyway, not really here to talk about this knife. I just figured I'd show that off and let you know that this one did come with a blunt tip, and I had to try to quote unquote fix it, even though my fix is a little bit not great. But action on this one's really good. Because I've put oil in it and everything. This one's, like I said, fresh out of the box, so there's no oil in it or anything. This one here, you can see, does have a tip and is sharpened pretty evenly. Not perfectly evenly, but pretty well done. I really like these spear point jackknives just because they're really simple. I do wish that he'd make like an elongated bolster version of this knife, because this would be a really cool like Barlow style knife, because it's very similar to like the Great Eastern Cutlery 15 pattern, is what it reminds me of my 15 boys knife. Because same blade shape, same basic shape and everything. This one might be a little bigger than a 15, but it's a nice size for a pocket knife. You can get all four fingers on it. It's comfortable. It's thicker, but not like super thick. Of course, the stag one is quite a bit thicker, so it feels even better in your hand. Um, my two blade version of this, which is in rosewood and everything, and I have done a video on a little while ago. I really have enjoyed carrying that knife when I do, and I always like having the option of two blades. I wish that James and Company would get a two blade in ebony or stag, because both of these handle materials I definitely prefer over the rosewood. But that's just a personal preference thing. But anyway, the knife itself, the blade here is about 2 3/4 inches long, a little over that, with a cutting edge of about 2.5. So, fairly decently sized knife blade. Would be legal to carry in the United Kingdom, from what I understand, which is good because that's where it's made. Um, the handle itself is around 3.5 inches long, meaning that the close length is around 3.5 inches long. A little longer than 3.5 inches. It's like 3 5/8, something like that. So, a good sized pocket knife, pretty much. right around the range that a lot of people would consider to be like the perfect size for a pocket knife. The fit and finish on this one's pretty good. You look at the back spring here. See if I can get it to focus. You look at the back spring here. Maybe some slight gapping. There is a focus. There is a slight gap between this liner and the cover material, which isn't perfect, but that's a thing. These are fairly affordable knives. This knife itself, I think, was around $40, maybe even less than that. Um, so, some slight fit and finish issues isn't exactly the end of the world. And here on the front of the handle, you have the same thing here, a little bit of separation between the liner and the handle there. So that's a thing, and that's a thing that I've seen with a few a few Arthur Wright and Son knives, where they get little gaps in between the liners and the handle material. I'm not super bothered with it. Some people would be, but yeah. These have C75 carbon steel blades, which is why I like them so much because I really like carbon steel back spring, nickel silver bolsters, brass liners, brass pins. Pretty traditional knife construction, pretty much. The blade centering on this one isn't perfect. It's slightly off to one side, but it's not bad. And if we look at the Stag one, I think the blade centering on the Stag one is slightly better. The fit and finish on the Stag one, I will say, I think is also slightly better. Other than that issue with the tip, but that is what it is. I've made it work for now, and it will work and poke into things and everything. So the Stag one, I've been carrying a little bit and everything. Um, Ebony one, kind of hoping that maybe he'll get a large lamb foot in the Ebony at some point because I'd like to have that because I have my rosewood one, but I'm not crazy about the rosewood. I'd really like to have Stag or Ebony, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, the action on this one isn't great right now. Like, it snaps open pretty good, but the close is a little lazy. But that being said, I haven't put any like oil in the action of this knife or anything. So I think if I did that, it'd probably get a little bit better. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly serviceable enough to have as your pocket knife and everything. I think it looks really good. There doesn't appear to be any obvious crack fillings. Maybe right there. Might be a little bit of glue right there. But something that I have noticed with some of the Arthur Wright and Sons knives is I think he hammers the pins because if we look at the Stag one here, like these pins look like they're hammered, not spun, which would explain why he doesn't really do a lot of bone handles. He does like Stag and wood pretty much. Um, so I think when he's hammering the pins, I think sometimes the wood will start to crack a little bit. And you'll notice on quite a few Arthur Wright and Sons knives, you have some spots like this where it looks like somebody took some super glue and then, sanded it down then, but leaves a little spot here where it's a little bit shinier than it should be. You'll notice that on these, again, for the price point of these pocket knives, I don't think it's something that's really worth worrying about, but something to point out. But yeah, I mean, these knives, I keep buying them, so obviously, I'm fairly impressed with them and everything. I think that it is a well-made knife that will last you for as long as you uh, need it, as long as you take care of it and everything. Obviously, if you are like your grandfather or, all of our grandfathers, and you take this and you stick it on a belt sander and that's how you sharpen it, it's not going to last forever. Um, at least I assume that's what they were doing with pocket knives based on the ones that I find at farmers markets and stuff that have this much blade left. Like, that much blade left. It's like ground the whole way down to the nail nick for some reason. So I assume they were using belt sanders because if you were using a whetstone, that would take forever to get a blade shaved down that far. But I mean, maybe they were just using a whetstone. But either way, this is a knife that I think will outlast you as long as you take care of it. Um, Once again, as always, really like the Arthur Wright and Son knives. There's just a little strip of brass hanging off there. Focus. That's another thing with these. Sometimes there'll be like little things like this, little finishing things like that, like this little strip of brass that was left hanging off the liner. Um, but yeah, not a huge deal. Just something to point out again. Um, but yeah, if you guys if live in the United States and you want a Arthur Wright and Son knives, you go over to AAPK. I think it's .net, and check out James and Company's store. He has Arthur Wright and Sons knives, Taylor's Eyewitness knives. I think he does Rosecraft now too, but definitely like he has quite a few of the Arthur Wright and Son knives and a whole bunch of the Taylor's Eyewitness. Oh, he also has, I think it's Michael May, the like custom guy over there that makes some stuff. He has some of his knives too. I've been looking at a Michael May lamb foot, thinking about ordering one, but I don't know if I'll do that at some point or not. Um, but anyway, this is the Arthur Wright and Son spear point jackknife in ebony, and I'm fairly impressed with it. I'm very happy with it and everything. Um, and I think that these knives are worth the low cost that they are, and be prepared for some slight fit and finish things, but usually nothing that makes the knife unusable, pretty much. I've never gotten one with blade play, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, some little gaps and stuff. Sometimes they come with a blunt tip. Um, that's just the way it is. But I mean, other than, a couple little things, they're pretty good knives. And certainly for the price, I don't mind fixing a couple little things if I need to. When I'm paying, $20 less than a case knife, and I'm getting something like this. So, anyway, I've talked about Arthur Wright and Son knives very highly for a whole bunch of videos. So I'm going to end this one here. I will see you guys in the next one, and I hope you have a good day.